Hi and welcome to today's video. This is a wonderful Shoei X15 and these are cheek pads for named Shoei X15. Now, why would I make a video about cheek pads? Cheek pads make a really big difference on how the helmet fits and sits on your head, and getting these made a big difference for me. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to assess if the fit is right and also how to get the cheek pads in and out of your helmet the right way. Let's get started. Now, these are the cheek pads, and why would you want to change them? Reason number one might be they are too thin or too thick and the fit for you is not good. Reason number two is you might have old cheek pads and they are kind of iffy. There's two things: they get dirty over time. You can try to wash them, but even after a certain amount of washing, the usage will be just obvious. The materials is pretty soft and lasts for a long time, but still, if you use it a lot, or also if you use makeup or it's often exposed to dirt, you will wear through these quicker. But also one thing to consider is the foam in the cheek pads and also in other parts of the helmets breaks down over time. So every helmet has a break-in period, and so actually when you have a new cheek pad, they might be not fitting perfectly in the beginning, but they will break in and get more comfortable. However, they keep changing over time, and after a couple of years of extensive usage, they might be too soft and might not give you any more the support that they used to. So in either case, whatever your motivation, fit, iffiness, or worn out parts, let's look into how to replace cheek pads. Before we look into replacing, let's go into the construction of these, what the differences are from the Shoei X14 to the 15, and how they compare to the RF line. In the US, the RF 1200 and 1400 to be more precise. All right, let's look at the cheek pads. And I brought you a couple of them. Let's start with X14 and X15 cheek pads. Now, I have here two cheek pads, and one is for the Shoei X15 and one is for the Shoei X14. Now, if you look at the video, good luck guessing which one is which, because they're almost identical. The only way to identify them quickly is to look at the bottom, and you will see that this material of the Shoei X15 is now a little bit more of a textured fake leather, and this helmet had a different, more leather-like looking material there. Now, the first question, of course, would be, hey, can you still use the Shoei X14 pads and an X15? Yes, you can. So they're replaceable. If you still have cheek pads from an X14 and you want to rock them in your X15, you can do so. They are interchangeable. They have the same mount points, and I used the X14 cheek pads in my X15 for quite a while because in the US they were pretty hard to get your hands to. Another reason to potentially keep the X14 cheek pads is the price. Now, the X14 cheek pads used to be around the low $50 mark, $54 roughly. Now the new X15 ones, pretty much the same material, same construction, are now about $74 US. Now, this is only in the US market. I've seen that the X15 pads are still a lot more affordable in Europe. For example, these I picked up for 59 euros in Germany, which makes it quite a bit more affordable than purchases them here in the US right now. So yeah, I'm not sure why the US ones are so much more expensive. Maybe it is just because of the low availability at the moment. On the back you can see there's a couple of holes for ventilation, and there are slight differences. Here's a bigger hole on the cheek pad than in the X14 model. Then you see also here are other positions. So you can have this position for the cheek pad here and there, and here they are on a standard position. So you can move them around, and that helps to rotate the helmet so you can dial in the vision on how much you can see out of the top of the helmet, especially in high lean angle situations. So really nice that you can change this here. I will show that later when we install the cheek pads on how to adjust these. X14 and X15 almost identical, just a couple more holes for better ventilation. You can use either in both helmets. X14, X15 pads are interchangeable. Here they have the quick release. If you're going down and the rider has lost conscious, EMTs can pull in here to remove the pads quickly from the helmet with a head inside. So yeah, nothing changed there, everything the same. Now, quick comparison. This is a pad from the Shoei RF 1400, and it is very similar in construction. You can just see materials are slightly different. So here's a finer mesh and here's a rougher mesh on the RF. But then on top and around here, there's the rougher mesh for better sweat removal on the X models, and you don't have that on the RF models. Also on the inside, you see the RF model has no ventilation channels, and the X model has a lot of ventilation going on to really support you on the racetrack to get better temperature regulation in high demand situations. And then also, while they're almost identical, on the RF you don't have the adjustability between the two positions, and else they are very, very similar. So yeah, slightly different materials and better ventilation is the biggest difference for the RF to the X models. Now let's talk about fit. So as we can see here with the cheek pads, there is a certain amount of room, and if I have the helmet on, you can see actually if the cheek pad is making here good contact with the cheek, and if you can move the helmet side to side. Now in this example, where you can move quite a bit and also easily get fingers in between, you see that this is not a good fit and the helmet is too loose. Now I have pretty narrow cheeks, and I usually need to go up one size in cheek pads. Now what size you need depends on your face and your helmet size. I would recommend try a helmet on first and then do this test, wiggle it around, see if you can easily fit fingers in. If you can fit them in, the pads are probably too loose and you might need one size up, potentially also two sizes, but usually I always found if you go up one size, that's good enough. If you have too much pressure and it creates pressure points on your cheeks, then you might want to go down one size. Shoei has a couple of sizes, I think 4 sizes in total. And you can also look up online what is the standard size that comes with your helmet, or you take the pads out and you can always see the size here printed on the inside of the pads. All right, now we know a little bit more about fit. Let's actually install these 39 millimeters and replace the standard, I think, 35 millimeters. Let's go. Now for this, it really helps if you have a helmet donut or something comparable. If not, you can always put it on a pillow. The idea is just don't scratch the helmet, and it helps that if you can move it around and look into it from different sides. Let's start with the safe removal. This is very easy. You grab inside here and just grab the pad and lift it gently off. You hear 2 snaps coming off. And then there's one more here. That's the third one. Once you have the 3 snaps, you can just pull this out. And then you start at the front of the helmet. There's this little open hook that you heard audible clicking out. And then at this point, you just unhook the back. And then you have this 35 millimeter pad out of the helmet. Let's do it again with the other side. You go under the pad, get the first snap, second snap. Then I usually get the double Ds here out of the way. Then here is the third snap. You just lift it up gently, should be no problem. Once you have 3 out, pull in the front to release this guy. Then the entire thing comes out. And we have a helmet without cheek pads. Alrighty, now that the cheek pads are out, let's install the new ones. Definitely make sure you have the new size, 39s here, and we're gonna put them into the helmet. Doesn't matter what side you start with, it is all the same. This one is the wrong side for this one. Well, for what the side the helmet is on. So we're gonna start with the left cheek pads to figure out which side is right. Easiest probably when you see the red tab for emergency release. That is supposed to be on the front of the chin. So that way you always know how to go about it. So we start in reverse order. So this guy comes in first. Here you see a little white tab. You get this hook in there until you have an audible click. There you go. Then because this is brand new, it needs a little bit of working inside here. And now you align this tab with the second white piece here. If it doesn't align, that means just this side is not pushed in far enough and you need to make sure this is all the way in. Should be pretty easy, so you just align it here and then press that in. Until you hear an audible plop. All right, now we have this in. What's missing is the 3 snaps that we opened last time. Make sure that we get the double Ds through so they're not in the way. Now, a lot of people struggle with the snaps a little bit. And for me, it's the easiest if you flip the helmet around and you can actually see the snaps. So there's one here, there's one there, and the third one is here. So I usually start with this one because it's the hardest one to get. And I really find it much easier if you look through the viewport of the helmet. This way you have a good angle to see the tabs. So what I do, and it's a little bit hard to film this and do it at the same time, but for you guys I will try my best. I will look through the viewport and then align it and click it. Like so. Even though I've done this 100 times, it took me 3 attempts. So don't fret if you don't get it in the first try. You have 3 snaps and make sure you get all of them. If you have struggled with one, always start with the hardest one first, and then let's go for these because they are easier to see. So next one up is the one in the front. You can see it, align it, and then just push it in. This one is most visible. It's right here. You make sure you align both white pieces visually. And then press. All right, one side is done, and then you just flip the helmet around and go for the other side. If you want to use the helmet with a different configuration, you have these 2 tabs to change the lean angle. What I mean by that, it's not the motorcycle left to right, but this changes a little bit how the cheek pads sit next to your face, and that changes how the helmet sits on your face, which allows you to have a different vantage point out of the top of your helmet. And I would try out both settings and just see what works better for you, how it fits better, and if you really need to look out of the top corner of your helmet where you see more. So this is the standard setting, which is more a road setting. And then you can set it to race mode or track mode by moving these. What I do usually is I grab this one and then move this through here. Like so. The first one is always a little bit harder to move. Now with the second one, it's going to be easier. I'm just going to lift this apart here and then move this one gently with my finger so it's in a second position. So this only has 2 positions. Either you have them completely in the middle or in the stop, and that's it. To move to the front is just to take the pieces apart. Now we have it in the race configuration like this, and we can install this in the helmet. Nothing changed. Red tab to the chin, and we always start with this little hook in the end. Make sure that's all the way in. Get the strap out of the way. And here again, we align this hole with the white tab. Push it in until you feel the clunk. Chin strap all the way through. And now again, if you orient it so you can look inside, you have a much easier time finding all the 3 tabs. Again, the hardest one for me always is the one at the very end. I hope the camera picks this up. There's one right here. And I look through the viewport, align it, and you have an audible click. The 2 in the front are a little bit easier. I start with this one first and push. And then here's the last one. Align it, click down, done. It takes a little practice with the white little buttons to click them in, but make sure they are all secured because else this is moving around. And this is safety equipment, so you definitely want to make sure that everything fits perfectly. So yeah, now you know how you can remove the cheek pads, how to size them a little bit so they fit better for you, and a little bit about construction as well. I hope this video about the cheek pads of this wonderful Shoei X15 was helpful. If I missed anything or if any questions, leave a comment in the comment section below. I'm Armin, thank you for watching Monomoto, and if you learned something today, please give it a like and consider subscribing. Bye bye for now.